Good morning, everyone. Hare Krishna, glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. We want to welcome everyone this morning. We have a good turnout already for the Sunday morning Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class by the sponsorship of the Prabhupada Disciples Association. We're a global organization of devotees. It's actually an association, and we are focused on presenting Prabhupada's philosophy based on his unedited books, unadulterated, unchanged. And we're also focused on the principle that Śrīla Prabhupada is living in sound vibration in his Vani incarnation. This is a transcendental movement based on sound vibration. As we know, the first two principles of Bhakti Yoga are Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing and chanting. So it's critical that devotees use the unedited books of Śrīla Prabhupada to study our philosophy, because it's Prabhupada alive in these books as Siksha Guru. Prabhupada is not only our Siksha Guru, but also through the Ritvik system. He is our Diksha Guru for all of us. And a lot of people refer to us as Ritviks. This is a term that has become a derogatory term used by the people in another organization. And I always tell them, we're not Ritviks, we're Prabhupada disciples. So that's a very important point that we should clarify at the beginning here. We're not a Ritvik movement. We're a Prabhupada Vani movement. And carrying on with our reading, we're reading, I don't know if you can see this properly. I think it goes in reverse.
No, we can see it.
Oh, okay, beautiful. Thank you. This is the Prabhupada Jaladuta diary. I also have the beginning diary in New York. So we're going to be reading this. It's very important for new people to really understand the greatness of our spiritual master, how he endured so many austerities traveling from India to America to begin the Hare Krishna movement. It wasn't a small feat. It's actually spectacular. And when you know it, you become more convinced of Prabhupada's transcendental position as the Acharya for the Hare Krishna movement. So we're at Friday, September 17th, 1965. We are now on the dockyard of Boston. Yes, there we are. Beautiful. We are now on the dockyard of Boston, and at 10 a.m., the customs officers and others came on the ship. They now issued the admittance permission after due checking it, etc. I saw the Boston town with Captain. It is very nice, and I shall describe it in a separate note. 36th day from starting from Calcutta Port. Today we are expected to reach Boston Port, USA in the morning. ACB 965. He stayed the whole night and day at Boston till 4 p.m. the next day. Saturday, September 18th. Today is the 37th day of our journey. And at 4 p.m., we left Boston for New York. In the morning, I had telephonic talks with Gopal P. Agarwal in Butler. And he said that his man will receive me at New York and dispatch me to Butler by bus or train as convenient. I tried to contact Dr. Mishra, but he was not available both yesterday and today. I do not know if he's coming to receive me. Today, two American nice gentlemen, Mr. Gardner and Fryer. We passed a beautiful canal and crossed underneath two overhead bridges. But at midnight, there was considerable fog disturbance, and the ship moved very slowly. The fog persisted till we reached late in New York port at 12:30 on the 19th day of September, 1965. September 19th. Today is the 30th day of our journey, and we reached New York port at 12:30 p.m., about 3 hours later than the scheduled time. So we can see from the 20th, the 21st, Prabhupada was being dispatched to Butler, Pennsylvania. So he isn't writing in his diary now. And then on the 25th of the Saturday, the 25th, so he's been there from the 19th, so 6 days. He writes another caption in his diary. Today I've sent letter to Captain Arun Pandya in appreciation of his journey from Calcutta to New York City. And now, if you look here, I'll show you, they put him up initially, the YMCA building in Butler, Pennsylvania, a typical room there, because there was no place for Prabhupada to sleep at the Agarwal home. They rented a room for him there, and he would walk the 6 or 7 blocks to the house for his daily meals and other activities. On October 18th, he left Butler for New York for wider preaching opportunities. So here is, you'll see, very humble beginnings. There's the picture of the YMCA and a typical room where he would stay. So Prabhupada was completely on his own, with no help from anyone outside of these kind people that had accepted him into their life. So we'll carry on at the next class. The next class will be on Wednesday, Chaitanya Charitamrita class. That's at 8 o'clock in the evening, Eastern Standard Time here in Canada and the United States. Do we have a section we're reading today on Prabhupada's earlier literature, Vinkat?
Yeah, I can read from the League of Devotees Prospectus, which is something that Śrīla Prabhupāda wrote in 1953.
Yeah, and it's I think all of us should be aware of the fact that Prabhupada was, by his writing, he reveals this amazing, look at how beautiful that is. He reveals his amazing belief that he would eventually spread the Sankirtan movement globally. So this is very insightful, very revealing to see that he worked methodically, step by step. And that's what we're doing here with the Prabhupada Disciples Association. We're we're doing very well, by the way, and we're expanding and laying the groundwork for future development. Go ahead, Prabhu, please.
Yeah, sure. So this is an organization, the League of Devotees, which he established in, I think, in the early 1950s in Jhansi in India. And this is the prospectus, or like the mission statement for that organization. And what was striking to me was that the philosophy is exactly the same. He didn't change any. I mean, we know that
exactly,
but it's still just amazing to read his early literature. So, yeah, we can start reading.
Please.
The League of Devotees Prospectus. The purpose of establishing an association like the League of Devotees, on the wish of Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa 108 Sri Śrīmad-Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj and Thakur Bhaktivinod of Navadvip, West Bengal, is keenly felt a necessary enterprise on the face of the present world situation, with special reference to the degraded and distressed condition of the human being. The human being in general has forgotten his real purpose of life, being too much attracted by the external energy of the absolute truth, and as such he is enamored with the beauty of material nature without any consideration of his spiritual identity. This forgetfulness has begun from a time immemorial, and from that time immemorial, the living entity is transmigrating from one form of body to another by a gradual process of evolution. When he attains the boon of human form of life, his consciousness is enlightened and developed so much that he can know himself, this cosmic world, and the absolute truth. In the lives other than the human being, the consciousness of the living entity is enwrapped with grossest type of materialism, and as such, living entities in that state of existence do not know anything beyond the prime necessities of animal life, namely eating, sleeping, fearing, and sense gratifying. Human form of life is therefore obtained after a struggle for existence by millions and millions of transmigrating evolutions, and the purpose of this life must not therefore be spoiled in such engagements of animal life as simply by eating, sleeping, fearing, and sense gratifying. The modern trend of human civilization is supposed to be a polished type of animal life. It has improved the method of eating by discovering varieties of palatable dishes. It has improved the method of sleeping by constructing massive and attractive palatial buildings and resting places, provided with well-furnished coaches and sleeping bedsteads. It has improved the quality of fearing by various defense measures, which are extracting more than 50% of human energy, with the ultimate result that it has invented the atomic bomb, which facilitates the dying process of human being. None of the scientific discoveries can save the man from the cruel hands of death. It has improved the method of sense gratification by inventing cinematographic pictures, phonographic sounds, wireless radios, horseless carriages, and similar other illusory things on the one hand. On the other hand, it has improved the dressing method of the fair sex, which gratifies the sense enjoyment lust of human being. The market is full with the advertisement of pictures of beautiful women for selling such sense-gratifying articles as varieties of toilets, jewelries, saris, medicines, contraceptives, and similar other materials. And to maintain this animal type of civilization for the benefit of a handful of men of demoniac principles, 95% of people of the human race is chained up to become victims of this wrong type of civilization, devoid of spiritual value.
Excellent.
Should I keep
reading? That's okay. We'll continue the reading here at the classes moving forward. So on Wednesday night, this format will be our new format for giving people an insight into the true genius of our Guru. It's extraordinary. Hey, Venkat, it's extraordinary. It's so enlivening just to hear his wisdom on Krishna consciousness being articulated by himself. Because remember, he was rejected by all of the members of the Gaudiya Math. He was not totally rejected. He was a friend, but he was never recognized as a great preacher back then. But it's apparent here by his writings that he is a genius all along in Krishna consciousness. So let's go ahead. We'll have the, please chant along, everyone. Prabhupada is going to lead us in Jaya Radha Madhava, such a beautiful bhajan. And I know some of you have been at the classes where Prabhupada was there and singing. He was an expert musician. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda, Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa Ranjana. Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa Ranjana. Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Jaya Muspat Paramahansa Parivrajaga-ācārya Sattvareśvara Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupāda ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Nāma-ācārya Śrī Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvāsādhi Gaur Bhaktamani ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Mokh Gopinath Sam Khand Radha Khand Girivardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai की जय, जमुना माई की जय, द्वारका धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जय, और ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमरन, और ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमरन। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Prabhu, we're not able to hear you. You're on mute. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. You're not audible. You're not audible. Let me see what's going on.
Narayanam namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Tato Jayam Mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1. To the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2. To the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3. To the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4. To Śrīla Vyasadeva, the author. Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Yabhadrani Vidunoti Suritsatam. This is from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, text number 17. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge for hearing his messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text number 18. Nashtaprayeshu vabhadrishu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktira bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class, or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. So today we will be reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We are currently reading from the 1962 New Delhi edition. We'll be reading from text number 8 on page 138.
7, Prabhu, 7. First.
Text number 7? Okay, sorry. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashuveragyam Jnanam cha yadahetukam. Vasudeve, unto Krishna. Bhagavati, unto the personality of Godhead. Bhakti Yoga, contact of devotional service. Janayati, does produce. Asu, very soon. Vairagya, detachment. Jnanam, knowledge. Cha, and. Yat, that which. Ahetukam, causeless. Translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. By the process of applying devotional service unto the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, the immediate result is that causeless knowledge and detachment follow. Purport by His Divine Grace. Those who consider devotional service of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as something like emotional affairs may argue that in the revealed scriptures, sacrifice, charity, austerity, knowledge, mystic powers, and similar other processes of transcendental realizations are recommended. And according to them, bhakti or devotional service of the Lord is meant for those who cannot perform the high-grade activities. Generally, it is spoken that the bhakti cult is meant for the Shudras, Vaishya, and the less intelligent women class. But that is not the actual fact. Bhakti cult is the topmost of all other transcendental activities, and therefore it is both sublime and easy at the same time. It is sublime for the pure devotees who are serious about getting in contact with the Supreme Lord, and easy for the neophytes who are just on the threshold of the house of Bhakti cult. It is a great science to achieve the contact of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and it is open for all living beings, including the Shudras, Vaishyas, women, or even lower than the Shudras, who are called low-born, and what to speak of the higher class men, like the qualified Brahmins and the great self-realized kings. The other high-grade activities designated as sacrifice, charity, austerity, etc., are all corollary factors following the pure and scientific bhakti cult. The principles of knowledge and detachment are two important factors on the path of transcendental realization. The whole spiritual process is meant for having perfect knowledge of everything, material and spiritual, and the effect of such perfect knowledge is that one gets consequently detachment from material affection and attachment for spiritual activities. Detachment for material things does not mean to become inert altogether, as it is considered by men with poor fund of knowledge. Neshkarma means not to undertake such activities which will produce good or bad effects. Negation does not mean negation of the positivity. Negation of the non-essentials does not mean negation of the essential. Similarly, detachment from material forms does not mean nullifying the positive forms. The bhakti cult is meant for realization of the positive form. When the positive form is realized, the negative forms are automatically eliminated. Therefore, with the development of bhakti cult, in other words, with the application of the positive service to the positive form, one gets naturally detached from the negative forms as one gets detached from inferior quality of things after achievement of superior quality of things. Similarly, the bhakti cult, being the supermost occupation of the living being, the latter certainly gets retired from inferior occupation of material sense enjoyment. That is the sign of a pure devotee. He is neither fool nor engaged in the inferior energies of material values. How this happens cannot be ascertained by dry reasoning, but it actually happens by the grace of the Almighty. The conclusion is that one who is pure devotee has all the other good qualities, namely knowledge, detachment, etc. But one who has only knowledge of detachment may not be well acquainted with the principles of bhakti cult, which is the supermost occupation of the human being. Dharma svanushtita pumsam vishvakshena katasuya nautpadayet radyadiratim shrama eva hi kevalam. Dharma, occupation, svanushtitaha, executed in terms of one's own position, pumsam, of the humankind, vishvakshena, personality of Godhead, plenary portion, katashu, in the message of, ya, what is, na, not, utpadayet, does produce, yadi, if, ratihi, attraction, Shrama, useless labor. Eva, only. He, certainly. Occupation, translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. Occupational activities, according to one's own position, executed by the humankind, turns into useless labor only, if such activities do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. Purport by His Divine Grace. There are different occupational activities in terms of man's different conceptions of life. To the gross materialist, who cannot see anything beyond the gross material body, there is nothing beyond the senses, and as such, their occupational activities are limited by concentrated and extended selfishness. Concentrated selfishness is around personal body, as it is generally seen amongst the lower animals. Extended selfishness is manifested in human society in the form of family, social, communal, national, or international selfishness of the gross bodily comfort. Above these gross materialists, there are other mental speculationists who hover aloft the mental spheres, and the occupational duties become thoughtful poetry, philosophy, or some ism with the same aim of selfishness limited by the body and the mind. But above the body and mind, there's the dormant spirit soul, whose absence from the body makes the whole range of bodily and mental selfishness completely null and void. But less intelligent people have not information of the need of the spirit soul. Because the foolish people have no information of the soul and how spirit soul is beyond the purview of the body and the mind, therefore all their occupational duties cannot give them complete satisfaction. Herein, the question of satisfaction of the self is raised. The self is beyond the gross body and subtle mind, and is the potent active principle of the body and mind. Without knowing the need of the dormant soul, how one can be happy simply by emolument of the body and mind. The body and the mind are but superfluous outer coverings of the spirit soul, but the soul's needs must be fulfilled. Without knowing the needs of the bird in the cage, simply by cleansing the cage, the bird cannot be satisfied. The need of the spirit soul is that he wants to get out of the limited sphere of material bondage and wants to fulfill the desire for complete freedom. He wants to get out of the covered walls of the greater universe. He wants to see the free light in the spirit. That complete freedom is achieved when he meets the complete spirit personality of Godhead. There is dormant affection of God within everyone. Spiritual existence is manifested throughout the gross body and mind in the form of perverted affection for the matter gross and subtle. We have to engage ourselves, therefore, in such occupational engagement as it will be able to evoke our divine consciousness. This is possible only by the process of hearing and chanting of the divine activities of the Supreme Lord in any occupational activity which does not help in achieving such stage of attachment for hearing and chanting. The transcendental message of Godhead is said herein as simply waste of time, because other occupational duties, call it by any ism, cannot give liberation to the soul. Even the activities of the salvationist are considered to be useless on account of its failure to pick up the fountainhead of all liberties. Gross materialists can see it practically that his material gain is limited only by time and space, either in this world or in the other. Even he goes up to the Svargaloka, That is also not the permanent abode for the hankering soul. The anchoring soul must be satisfied by perfect scientific process of perfect devotional service. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master. We all offer obeisances unto our spiritual master, Śrīla Prabhupāda, who has opened our eyes, who has opened my eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Rup Sanatana Bhattara Gunata Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dāsa Raghunata. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Śrīla Prabhupada is explaining very important points of devotional service here. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada explains, based on Rupa Goswami, Yena tena prakarena mana Krishna niveshaya, that the basic fundamental principle of devotional service in the beginning is some way or other, mana Krishna niveshaya, some way or other, fix the mind upon Krishna. The Acharya and great Vaishnava Acharyas have devised many transcendental means of engaging people in the service of Krishna. But somebody may ask, well, what about all the different rules and regulation? And the next part of that verse explained this. Sarve vidi nishedasyur etayor eva kinkaraha. Kinkaraha means servant. That these various rules and regulations and restrictions, that these things are meant to be subservient to this basic fundamental principle of fixing the mind upon Krishna. We have all read in the Bhagavad Gita how Krishna is telling Arjuna, Man mana bhava mad bhakto. Yet you fix your mind upon me, offer your obeisances to me, think of me, surrender to me, engage in positive devotional service. So this is the power of the Acharya. This is the power of the pure devotee who is able to explain how to engage people in the bhakti cult. It's important because in the material world, as Prabhupada explains here, in the material world, everybody is very busy engaging in activities based on the conception of the body. We see in this text, number 8, in the purport in the first paragraph, how Śrīla Prabhupada is explaining the meaning of concentrated selfishness. And we will read this. This is very important. Concentrated selfishness is around personal body, as it is generally seen amongst the lower animals. Extended selfishness is manifested in human society in a form of family, social, communal, national, or international selfishness of the gross bodily comfort. Now, this is very important because we see in human society how so many persons are engaged in these philanthropic activities, charitable work, educational work, feeding the poor. These are all good activities. It's not that they're bad activities. It's not that these activities are prohibited. No, these activities are recommended, but these are not on the platform of bhakti. Only on the platform of bhakti can one get relief of the miseries of this material world. And Prabhupada explains, less intelligent people have not information of the need of the spirit soul. Śrīla Prabhupāda used to often give the example of being overly absorbed in maintenance of the gross material body. It's like having a bird in the cage, trying to polish the cage and neglecting to feed the bird. What will be the result? The result is that the bird will die. The bird will die. Another example Prabhupada used to give, that mental speculation activities of the mind are just like trying to lick the outside of the bottle of honey. Now, everybody knows if you want to get the real taste of honey, you have to open the bottle and go inside. You cannot get a taste of the honey from licking the outside of the bottle. So in this way, material activities for the satisfaction of the body and mental speculation, these activities will not satisfy the soul. It's important, the Sanskrit words that are used in text number 8 at the end, shramaheva hi kevalam, that it will simply turn into useless labor if such activities do not promote attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. Now, this is a very important point, because as devotees engage in a process of bhakti, engage in a process of devotional service, it's important to understand fundamental things. There's a lot of instructions of what we're supposed to do, the vidhi, what one must do, follow the principles, chant the 16 rounds, engage in following the program prescribed by Śrīla Prabhupāda, associate with devotees, worship Tulsi, hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam like we're reading, taking prasadam offered to Lord Krishna. This is very important. But why are we doing this? What is the goal of all these activities? Because we see in the material world that Prabhupada, we saw in a previous purport, how human society is currently a royal edition of the animals. A royal edition of the animals. And we see how Śrīla Prabhupada is describing in so many words, very nicely, how people are engaged in so many activities of basic fundamental bodily comforts and neglecting the position of the soul within. One cannot neglect that. If one neglect that, then there will be a contradictory result. Similarly, as devotees, it's important to understand, why are we doing all this? To develop attraction for Krishna, to develop love for Krishna. I've often discussed a Sanskrit verse that Prabhupada used to often quote in different lectures, which is a summary of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It is described, Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayasta Dhamma Vrindavanam, that the abode of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan is just as worshipable as Krishna himself. Ramya Kastid Upasana Vrajavadu Vargena Yakalpita, that the worship of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, the Gopikas of Vrindavan, is the highest form of worship. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam pramanamamalam, that the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is considered the topmost evidence, topmost literature. Prema Pumarta Mahan, the development of love of Godhead, spontaneous love of Godhead, is the goal of human life. And finally, in that last part of that verse, the great Acharya, Srinath Chakravarti, writes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam, that in my opinion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Tatradaro Napaha, there's no higher personality than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We all know the story of our Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami first met Lord Chaitanya, they were both engaged in the service of the Mohammedan government, the service of the Nawab Hussain Shah. And they met Lord Chaitanya. What did they do? Well, they offered their obeisances. They presented themselves as being the lowest of the low, although they were very elevated personalities. And there's a very nice verses in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which I would respectfully and humbly suggest to everybody to consult. There's nice Sanskrit verses in there of how they're expressing to Lord Chaitanya who they really are. They say, Matulyo nasti papatma na paradicha kashtana. Says there's no greater offenders than ourselves. There's no greater sinner than ourselves. And we are just the lowest of the low. Well, this is the highest devotee who's thinking himself the lowest of the low. Very, very important mentality to learn from. But what did they do with Lord Chaitanya? They glorified him. Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate, that you are the most munificent incarnation. Why? What distinguishes Lord Chaitanya from all the other incarnations? Krishna Prema Pradayate, that you are distributing freely Krishna Prema, love of Godhead. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurat Vishe Namaha. And we offer our humble, respectful obeisances to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. Now, this is quite significant. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not engaged because mostly the previous acharyas were very busy in writing commentaries on Vedanta Sutra and debating other acharyas of other schools, which Lord Chaitanya did also. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in Jagannath Puri. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had disputations with Prakashananda Saraswati in Varanasi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India. He had disputation with various Buddhist scholars, with various other devotees. But what did he give that was so special? This Krishna Prema Pradayate, this transcendental chanting. That was the unique contribution of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this Samkirtan movement. We have all heard from Śrīla Prabhupada in different lectures, he's explaining Golokera Premadhana Harinama Samkirtana. People may say, well, where did this chanting come from? What is this chanting? Persons who may not know. And Prabhupada has explained, originally that comes from Goloka Vrindavan, this chanting of Hare Krishna, this Harinam Samkirtana. And it has come down to the line of bona fide acharyas in a disciplic succession. When I first came to the devotees in 1969, one devotee named Sripati was a wonderful cook and a very great Samkirtan leader. And he explained to me, he says, that disciplic succession, he says, Prabhupada has explained that the message of the disciplic succession is just like in India, they have during the mango season, when the mangoes are ripe, they have somebody who's going to go on top of the mango tree and get the ripe mango. And he'll pass it down very carefully to the next person down, to the next person down, so it does not get bruised. It does not get mangled. It does not get spoiled. So in the same way, the message of the disciplic succession is passed down from these great, powerful, pure devotee acharyas, from one acharya to the other to the other. And this is the unique, special contribution of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda to present the message of Lord Chaitanya, to present the teachings of Lord Chaitanya in a very systematic way, and also practically demonstrating how to follow the process. Prabhupada could have easily just written the books and stayed in Vrindavan and Radha Damodar. No, he came to America. We read every day when we have these classes. Vishwakarma Prabhu and now Venkat Prabhu, they are reading from some of the earlier writings of Śrīla Prabhupada before he came to America, and writings that Prabhupada had on the boat. And the devotional sentiments that are expressed are exactly the mood of a pure devotee. simply to deliver the message, the pure message, without adulteration. Without adulteration. Now, anybody who's been in India knows the difference between cow milk, cow dood, and buffalo dood. Buffalo also produce milk. One milk has beneficial effects on the human body, and the other milk is very different. Buffalo milk is not recommended for the human body. But in India, if you don't watch, if you go to a milkman who keep cows and buffalo, they may mix the buffalo milk with the cow milk. It looks like milk. It's liquid. It's white. It tastes almost like milk, but it has a very, very, very different effect. I see that Bhakta Peter is making a comment that in India, in Uttarakhand, they also have goat milk. Yes, but all these different kinds of milk are different. Camels also produce milk. In other words, we are not a buffalo milk sampradaya. We are a cow milk. Cow is the best milk, the total transcendental milk. And as devotees and followers of this process of bhakti, it's up to us to seek the nectar of that milk. Now, many times I've had devotees write to me personally and says, what is this mantras that you're singing after saying Namo Vishnu Padaya? You're singing two mantras. We haven't heard those before. What is that? So one of these shlokas, Bhaktisiddhanta Shishyaya, that was written by a devotee named Anantaram Shastri. He was a great Sanskrit scholar. A Shastri. Shastri in India is like a PhD in Sanskrit type. Very learned fellow. He came from a Vaishnava family in northern India, and he joined Prabhupada's movement. When Prabhupada found out that he was a Shastri in Sanskrit, he says, oh, come. Prabhupada told him, you can help me translate the Bhagavatam. Of course, Śrīla Prabhupada did not need any help to translate the Bhagavatam, but he was trying to engage him. So the first thing this person did in 1976 is that he compiled 23 prayers to Prabhupada called the Prabhupada Stotram. They were written in Sanskrit. And every day before the Bhagavatam class at Mayapur in the morning, he would repeat 5 or 6 verses like that in a very melodious Sanskrit tune. So one time he explained to me that one verse, Bhaktisiddhanta Shishyaya, means that Prabhupada, Śrīla Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda is a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta. Bhaktivedanta namine, he has the name Bhaktivedanta. Prasannaya, here we go. Prasannaya prasantaya tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. Let's read the translation. Let me offer my obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, who is a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is always calm and joyful, and who is known by the name of Bhaktivedanta Swami. So that is very, very sweet. As a matter of fact, these 5 prayers we used to recite in the month of October 1976 in Vrindavan in the Gurukul. Śrīla Prabhupada had requested me to stay in the Gurukul and teach the children Sanskrit chanting and these things. So one time we came before Prabhupada and we chanted these verses. And Prabhupada says, oh, very nice. So in 1977, I had the good fortune of being with Prabhupada every night for 2 hours. Different leaders were given the chance to be with His Divine Grace and tending to him and massaging his feet and like that. And Prabhupada asked me about these prayers, whether I still had these prayers. I said, yes, Prabhupada, because we had been chanting these prayers in front of Prabhupada just before the Guru Puja in the morning when Prabhupada was in Vrindavan in October. So in May of 1977, Śrīla Prabhupada said, yes, these prayers, you should get those translated and they should be recited every day. Prabhupada, if the devotees do that, they will develop very good sneha. I said, well, what is that, Prabhupada? They will develop very good affection and attachment for the spiritual master. So that is a little story with that. Now, the other prayer is a prayer that was written by a great, thank you, Balaram. I greatly appreciate your fist up. That's nice. There's another prayer that was written by a great Vaishnava Acharya, which I mentioned yesterday. His name was Vedanta Deshika. Now, I know he's not in our sampradaya, but once you listen to the meaning, you might all like this. This great Vaishnavacharya, he wrote like 130 books. He was the one who wrote that book called Mayavada Shatadushani, the refutation of 100 theories of the Mayavadis. He was a very powerful Vaishnavacharya in South India, about 100 years after the disappearance of Ramanuja. And he wrote a commentary on Yamunacharya's Stotaratna, which are different prayers to Lord Krishna. No, both Bhaktivedanta Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and also Krishnadas Kaviraj quotes from that book in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this great Acharya, Vedanta Deshika, he wrote his commentary on Yamunacharya's prayers in the Stotaratna. He says, Bhagavad Vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandanava Purvakam, that whenever one worships the Supreme Lord, it is naturally very sweet, just like milk is naturally very sweet, but it becomes even sweeter if you had a little sugar. Sarkara Yuktam means when it's mixed with a little sugar. Says Bhagavad Vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam, that one should worship the Acharya, the Guru, before worshiping Krishna. Just like when one takes milk, if one adds a little sugar, it becomes naturally very sweet. So it is a eulogy to Śrīla Prabhupāda and our great Acharya like that. So the point is that the process of bhakti is dependent on us getting that connection with the pure devotee. What is that connection? Prabhupada refers to it by hearing. It is not just a physical connection. We are not a Vapu Vad Sampradaya. Of course, there's a Vapu. There's the body of the spiritual master. That is important. We saw Prabhupada, even today, just like before the program, we saw Prabhupada chanting Jaya Radha Madhava. We can hear from Prabhupada, we can see Prabhupada. But even more important, Prabhupada used to say that Vani is more important than Vapu. Just like yesterday, I addressed the issue whether or not Śrīla Prabhupada is present in his deity and in his pictures. And Prabhupada wrote one letter, he says, yes, I am present in my picture, but I'm even more present in my books. Which is why this issue of whether the original first edition books are important and whether or not adulterated books or changed books should not be considered authentic. Because this is a big controversy that is still ongoing, unabated. Because many devotees do not accept all these changes, especially in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is like the Bible of the Hare Krishna movement. This is the fundamental text. So is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And unfortunately, what has happened is these books have been edited in various ways to try to change or twist the philosophy, to try to inject some non-Prabhupada ideas into these books. Now, some people may protest, oh no, it's just editing to make sure that there's no grammatical mistakes and that there's no improper misspelling or no improper this. So Prabhupada it's very important to understand this because the example is given. I was giving the example of this Vaishnavacharya. In the history of Vaishnavism, in India, we have four basic sampradayas. The Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya with Ramanuja. We have the Madhva Sampradaya with Madhvacharya Anandatirtha, the Nimbarka Sampradaya, and the Vallabhacharya Sampradaya, Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. So all these sampradayas, all their acharyas have written elaborate comments. We'll answer the question later, Robert. We'll deal with the question. All of these great acharyas have given elaborate commentaries on Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, so many writings. But they have a tradition that you never touch the writing of a previous acharya. In our movement, unfortunately, that tradition has been broken. Now, somebody may say, well, these books were written in English. They were not written in Sanskrit. And the English Prabhupada requested to be edited. Yeah, that's nice and fine. But it's not a perpetual embellishment project. Prabhupada did not want this to be continued forever, constantly changing, because we see what they've done in Chaitanya Charitamrita when they were challenged by a devotee named Dear Govinda. Why have you changed that Jagannath Das Babaji initiated Bhaktivedanta Thakur? Their reply was, well, we had to adjust this to conform to our understanding of initiation in ISKCON. No. We're not concerned with your understanding. We're concerned with Prabhupada's statements and his original statement. Because political correctness or political ideas do not mix well with Prabhupada's original teachings. There is no room for adulterating the teachings and the words of His Divine Grace to satisfy somebody's political ideas. That is not correct. Very dangerous idea. Now I'm going to open it up to Vishwakarma Prabhu for further comments, and then we can open up for discussion. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, for that amazing class on our philosophy of Krishna consciousness. This is a great opportunity for everyone to taste the nectar of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class as we've known it down through the years as Prabhupada disciples. We're going to open up the floor. I see there was Vinkat, could you read that quote that our friend Balaram in Turkey gave on Prabhupada's Vani Vapu? How he says that the Vani is more important than the Vapu, personal association. Could you read that quote for us? Do you see it?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So the quote says, next, you ask if I'm present in my picture and form. Yes, in form as well as in teachings. To carry out the teachings of Guru is more important than to worship the form, but none of them should be neglected. Form is called Vapu, and teachings is called Vani. Both should be worshipped. Vani is more important than Vapu.
Yeah, Vani is more important. And we'll open up the floor to questions and points as well. But it's important to know that when we were working full-time in the society, myself in Toronto, at ISKCON Toronto, we would constantly remind everyone that the Vapu association was not that important. In fact, it was very dangerous for people to, Vinkat, to associate with Prabhupada, because the tendency would be familiarity. See, familiarity breeds contempt. That's how things work in this material world. So when you start to think that the guru is just an ordinary person, and this would happen with a lot of these people that were picked up to be servants. Remember this, the most important people in the mission were the people that were pushing the mission forward. Prabhupada was interested, Vinkat, in that. That was his main focus. So he would always look at the devotees. Well, how many devotees have you made? How many books have you distributed? How many plates of prasadam have you distributed? Like that. He looked for tangible results in terms of your devotional service, not just that you know a lot of verses. Although we're so blessed that Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu is so articulate in our philosophy and so authoritative that he can give us the foundation, just like a lawyer can speak. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu worked in a law firm, and he would have been an excellent lawyer, but he's a lawyer for proving that Prabhupada is the pure devotee. He lives with us, and for proving that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he lives with us as well. So let's let's carry on with the discussion. Venkat, who's got questions for us for Yaśodā-nandana?
Balaram Prabhu has his hand raised.
Balaram Prabhu in Turkey. Good to see you this morning. Haribo, and welcome to the discussion. Your microphone is not on. Thank you. And I love your background view there.
It's 6 p.m. here, so
good for you. Congratulations to you. Thank you.
I was about to say Mother Yaśoda. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. At the beginning of the first text,
yes,
Prabhupada says in his purport that the soul desires to get out of here and wants to get out of the material world. And as far as I've understood so far, so I want to be corrected in this, is that the soul is untouched by any material thing. And as far as I've understood so far, us as soul proper, we do not have any experience within the material world. So what does it mean what does it mean when Prabhupada says the soul desires to get out of here? Because by that, it seems like the soul is experiencing something here.
Yaśoda, please.
In many lectures, when Prabhupada would discuss this, there's two different aspects. Is that the original condition of the living entity, it's described in a Bengali verse, Anadi Karamafali. That it's the term in English that Prabhupada used is called time immemorial. As far as when the soul desired, how the soul desired, there's misuse. Prabhupada used the word independence, misuse of independence. And that's how we are in this material world and continuously revolving, transmigrating in different bodies. Now, I realize this is a very extensive discussion because there is different devotees who have criticized Prabhupada's explanation that we were once with Krishna and we misused our independence and we were sent to the material world. And many devotees say, no, that's not proper because the liberated souls in the spiritual world do not fall down to the material world. And Prabhupada, whenever that controversy came up, his attitude was basically, why don't you focus on trying to get out? In other words, the focus that Prabhupada would have repeatedly emphasized was trying to get out of how the living entity is contaminated by the influence of the material energy, but how the devotee, the living entity can come out of the material entanglement. That is the real issue, not to perpetually dwell whether a devotee was here or there and how did we fall. Just like if a person falls into the ocean, there's no use for that person to start, well, did I slip? Did somebody push me? Did I walk off the boat? It doesn't matter. If somebody throws him a rope, what he should do is grab the rope. The rope is the process of devotional service and the good instruction of the spiritual master. In a nutshell, this is the best way to summarize this, because I know there's a lot of controversy that has gone on the internet, and Prabhupada himself has made a lot of statements regarding this. For example, in a Chaitanya Charitamrita, if somebody willingly breaks Ekadasi, that there's a quote from the Skanda Purana, one of the Puranas, that even if somebody reaches the spiritual world, he'll come down again. Then the example of Jai and Vijay, that these are personal associates of Krishna who were cursed to come down to the... So there's a lot of issues with this, which are fairly complicated. But generally, Prabhupada, when this issue came during the manifested presence of Śrīla Prabhupada, he repeatedly always told the devotees, don't bother about how you got here. Worry about how to get out. So...
Yeah, Yaśoda Prabhu. Actually, that wasn't my question at all. You know,
okay.
The soul falling or not falling, no. My question actually is, do we as soul though, as the soul, do we experience life in the material world?
Well, the soul, there's a Sanskrit verse, asango yam yapurushaha, the soul, technically the soul is not affected, but in contact with the material energy, with the modes of nature, the soul gets affected. That's where the issue of karma comes in. we have this body that we have now, being born in a certain country with a certain body, with certain mind, in a certain family, in a certain environment. This is due to our past karma. But the spirit soul is not affected by this. The spirit soul is always transcendental, but in contact with the material energy, the living entity gets affected like that. I mean, for example, if you were to take all of Śrīla Prabhupāda's statements about the spirit soul, all of Prabhupada's statements about karma, all the Prabhupada statements, if you were to line them up with bullet points, you would get thousands of references about the body, the soul, the mind. So it's the basic fundamental point is that we are a spirit soul. Aham Brahmasmi. We are not this body. But now that we've got this body and this mind, we have to use what we have. Prabhupada used the expression to use the best deal out of a bad bargain. It's a troublesome situation to be in this body. How many times, like you live in Turkey there? They had those big earthquakes over there. Yeah. Did anybody in Turkey pray, oh my God, dear Krishna, or Lord Jesus, or Lord whatever, send us a big earthquake. We'd like to see what it looks like. Nobody does that. Years ago, where Venkat Prabhu lives, they had a massive, massive flood with the river Tungabhadra Godavari. I remember seeing pictures. It was like the ocean. It was like you saw water everywhere and a couple of treetops some places. You think that Venkat was praying, oh, my dear Krishna, please send us a beautiful flood everywhere so that people can suffer and people are washed out of their homes. Nobody prays for that. But this is the condition in the material world. Just like some people ask, oh, why is God so merciless that people are suffering? Well, why is the government so merciless? Why is there a prison house? I'm sure in Turkey they have prisons, right, for criminals. Balaram, in Turkey, do they have prisons there? Yeah, they have. Why does the government maintain a prison? Because they know there will always be a group of human beings that will misuse their independence. Similarly, in this material world, there is always going to be some people that are going to misuse their independence. They rebel against the authority of God, of Krishna. And what happens, Durga, that you have seen pictures of Durga, she's on a lion with a trident. That big trident is the three spikes. This is the modes of material nature. She's the agent of Krishna to keep the conditioned souls in the material world. And the suffering with earthquakes and floods and wars and pestilence and super cold and snow and heat. Just like in California. There's some places in California in the summer, in the winter, where they get 7-8 feet of snow east of Sacramento in the mountains. And there's another place in Southern California in the desert. It's one of the hottest places on this planet. It gets 135 degrees Fahrenheit. It's called Death Valley, California. Does anybody pray for this? No. But these miseries are there. They're called three basic miseries because we have this body. It's called Adhyatmika Klesha. Klesha means misery. Adhyatmika means miseries due to the body, suffering, diseases. Adhibhautika Klesha, miseries due to other living entities. And Adhidaivika Klesha, like earthquakes, like floods, cold, heat, like that. So these miseries are there no matter whether one is Brahmaloka or wherever we are. So this is the condition that we have. And the real task that we have is to use our intelligence in this human form of life to try to get out. I see that one devotee named Bhakta Bala Ganesh also has his hand.
I'm gonna get Venkat. Prabhu, could you please read first before Bala Ganesh comes on? Could you please read the wonderful post that Dr. Puja has written here in the chat section?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Let me get it. Hare Krishna, and a very grateful thanks to Prabhupada Disciples Association, especially Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu and Vishwakarma Prabhu, and the whole team. Your efforts and lectures is very nice. Due to your lecture and association, I got very much help in my Krishna consciousness, to be very honest. To be very honest, previously I was unable to chant my rounds properly, but as I started to join the class, now I'm chanting my 16 rounds every day peacefully. My life became more easier. Thank you so much again. You people are really working hard. Sorry if I say something wrong. Thank you. Dandavat Pranam.
Dr. Puja, thank you very much for your comment. We sincerely appreciate and humbly appreciate your statement in terms of how you're feeling as a result of working or associating with other Prabhupada disciples. And this is providing us encouragement to push on and continue this process year after year. This is the gradual process, step by step. Now we've got Bala Ganesh is also in India, Balaram. And Bal Ganesh is, Bal Ganesh, how old are you? Are you 19 or 22?
No, Prabhu, I'm 30.
Oh, you're
30.
30.
Yes, Prabhu, yeah.
Okay, that's that devotee in Russia that's 19. So many people are appreciating. Bala Ganesh, please, your question.
Yes, Prabhu, yeah. Prabhu, there in the purport, it was mentioned that we have to engage ourselves in the occupational duties that will evoke divine consciousness.
Yes.
But like if you see any occupation in the material world, it's mostly we are working for someone else, and mostly because of the necessity of the money only we are working. So how I can, apart from the full-time devotional services like preaching or pujari or whatever in the movement, what other occupational engagements we should engage as told by Prabhupada that will evoke our devotional consciousness? If not, for example, I'm working in a software organization, so IT company. So should I then quit because it doesn't evoke the devotional consciousness? So how to understand that statement, bro?
Okay, I'll give a quick answer and then we'll carry on. Prabhu, what you have to do is look at your day. You divide your day into time segments. So because of the circumstances that you are in, that you have to, like all of us, work at a job to earn some money. That's simple common sense. But at the same time, you have all kinds of, whatever time that you have, you fill it up with the spiritual activities that Prabhupada is describing here. That's the best you can do. You know, all you can do is all you can do. So you only have so many hours during the day that you can commit to the spiritual practices without deviating from your work. If you don't do your work, you'll get fired. So like Yaśodā gives the example, if you're going in the car, if you have a car or you have a phone, so when you're walking to work, you can, or riding to work, you can chant your rounds along with Prabhupada, listen on the phone. When you get to work, you can say hello to everybody and be a first-class employee, by the way. Don't be a person that's off in the twilight zone when you have a job to do. We want to show people that devotees are expert, they're kind, they're intelligent. It's by practical association. You make friends and you introduce it, work if you have a chance, or if you don't, like for us here, if somebody calls me up just here in the Hamilton area, I always invite them over to my house. Oh, please come over. Oh, why do you want me to come over? Well, come over. I'm going to make some lunch for you. And then I make prasadam and I serve the prasadam to them. So I have a personal goal of 3,000 to 4,000 meals a year to give out on a small level as best as I can. So you try your best to serve Krishna with whatever facility that you have. And don't worry about anything. And make sure you do this. You ready? Come to these classes as much as possible, because here's a chance for you, with the use of technology, for all of us to associate on a very beautiful level. And this is the way that the spirit soul is properly engaged. It's called, this other Balaram was asking that question. The soul is within the body. it's a seed that has to be cultivated. And when it's cultivated properly by good association, then you become spiritualized while you're in this body. Spiritualized, that you have no taste to hear mundane sound. You have no taste to associate with karmis that are only motivated for material self development. You have no taste for the pleasures of material life. You're not interested because you've experienced a higher taste. That's what this is. It's a higher taste. And when you have a higher taste, you automatically give up the petty pleasures of this material body and the illusion that you think you can find happiness here. There is none. Know it for certain, Balaram. There is no happiness in this world. The only happiness comes from the association of devotees and the transcendental service of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Let there be no confusion. Okay, sorry for that. Let's go, Vinkat, please. You've got your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to add, I've been reading
Yes.
Nectar of Devotion, and I wanted to add something in this regard that was quite interesting.
Please.
This is from chapter 11 of Nectar of Devotion. It says, in the Naradiya Purana, there's a statement of how this servitorship is transcendental. It is said that a person who is constantly engaged in devotional service by his body, mind, and words, or even a person who is not practically engaged, but is simply desiring to be so, is considered to be liberated. And even in the previous chapter, I saw the similar thing. There was a story of a Brahmana. He was a poor Brahmana. He couldn't worship Lord Vishnu. That story is given. And he just was meditating on the worship. And he got the ultimate, well, he got to meet Lord Vishnu. I mean, so just very interesting, which I wanted to mention here, that we can constantly be desiring to serve, even if we are not practically serving.
Yes, beautiful. It is a matter of intention, of focus. We have our god brother,
Ram Raghava has sent his hand up.
Is that Ram Raghava or is his father?
Ram
Hare Krishna,
Raghava
no, that's
has
me.
had his hand up.
Oh,
Go ahead,
Rakesh
Prabhu.
Sharma.
Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Sorry for the, I'm at work actually. I had to go into work today, so that's why I'm joining like this, and my name is wrong on there. Thank you very much for a wonderful program. I just wanted to add a comment regarding what Balaram Prabhu said. I think my understanding is that the soul is not directly touched, as it explains in the Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter, reading from text 23. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can he be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. Text 24, this individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble, and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, all-pervading, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. So even though when we're conditioned, we're here in this material world, conditioned by the different impositions that are put on us, we're not directly affected because the soul cannot be cut or burned, etc. So that was my comment. And I just wanted to let everybody know we had a nice program yesterday evening. And there was a family who attended who's mainstream ISKCON, but we only glorified Śrīla Prabhupāda and Krishna. We had a nice kirtan, and we read from Śrīla Prabhupāda's original unrevised editions. And the focus was on Śrīla Prabhupada. So there were about 14, 15 people, including my parents, but it turned out nice. So it was turned out very beneficial for everybody.
That's
Nice.
good news. Excellent. By the way, I wanted to mention that Ram Raghava, just so you know, I think I passed a message to you by text that our godbrother Madhukanta, yeah, is seriously ill right now. Just giving Dr. Puja, I wanted to mention what happened. I had a chance to meet Madhukanta about 8 months ago or 10 months ago. and through Facebook interaction. And after talking to him for some time, I realized that this person was very sincere. And he was extremely Prabhupada conscious. And just briefly, the story goes this way, that when he was in LA in the 70s, he wanted to get initiated by Prabhupada. And what happened was, Prabhupada, it was in November, Prabhupada 14th, Prabhupada left this world physically. And so this Prabhu, his name is Michael Garin, he got left out. And that's what he felt. He got left out. And so in LA, they went ahead and they tried to force him to get initiated as the guru system started. They tried to force him, Yaśodā, to get initiated by Rameshwar. Now, not to go over that issue, but what happened to Rameshwar, if anyone's familiar, they'll know. And if not, you can look it up online. So what happened was, he was a book distributor. He was very, very sincere. He wanted to be a Prabhupada disciple, and they kicked him out of LA because he wouldn't take initiation from Rameshwar. And so he told me this story, and I thought, geez, that's terrible what happened. Of course, all of us are aware of these things that go on. And then he kept up his commitment to Prabhupada. And over the years on his own, for over 40 years now, he has been preaching that Prabhupada is the pure devotee. Prabhupada is living in his Vani incarnation. Prabhupada is my guru. And so when I met him when he told me this story, I said, listen. And then I also found out that he had this serious health issue, that he could barely breathe. I won't go more into the story, but subsequently, I thought to myself, I'll recommend him to our Brahminical Council. He should be initiated as a Prabhupada disciple because he's going to leave his body. And sure enough, as time has gone on, he got initiated in the ceremony. And he was given a name and a nice beads and neck beads and the whole beautiful thing. And subsequently now his health has deteriorated down to the point where he said to me, sent me a text 2 days ago. He says, I can barely breathe. I hope I can just leave soon. This body is so difficult for me. So here is a success story for us, that this person is blessed with this position now, even at the end of his life. So could you read this other chat message from Bala Ganesh, please, Venkat?
Sure. Any occupational activity which does not help one to achieve attachment for hearing and chanting the transcendental message of Godhead is said herein to be simply a waste of time. And Bala Ganesh Prabhu says, I'm regretting that my occupational duty is a waste of time. But as Vishwakarma Prabhu told, intention matters, and as per time, place, circumstance, we need to engage in duties.
Yes. Dr. Pooja's comment, please read that. My occupation. She's a dentist, by the way. She's a dentist and very sincere person, and we congratulate her on her, her efforts now to carry on with her spiritual life. Go ahead, please read.
My occupation is also very bad, Prabhu. Everyone is drinking and smoking. Just engage yourself in Krishna consciousness, as Prabhupada says about Ambarish Maharaj. Listen Prabhupada lecture when you're cooking in car. Read and attend these lectures and chant. Krishna and Prabhupada will show you the way.
Exactly. There is a potency in this process, and it's found through the association of Prabhupada devotees. Yes, Yaśodā Prabhu, please.
I just want to make a comment here.
Yes.
about a couple of screens. I see a Bhaktin Veronica Carmona. I don't know if everybody can see this. She has a picture of a Rath Yatra cart with Lord Jagannath. It's very beautiful. From my angle, it looks absolutely fascinating. Then there's a picture of another devotee, Vijay Pandit Prabhu, and his good wife, Gopika. Behind them, when you see between them, all the way back, there's all kinds of beautiful pictures of deities and everything. Then there's Balaram Prabhu in Turkey. I'm looking every day, and I'm looking, he's got Prabhupada right there chanting japa on the Vyasasana. It's just a very inspiring, transcendental sight to see all of these beautiful interaction. There's Janas Priya. He has a picture of Śrīla Prabhupada smiling, looking at one of his books. Very, very sweet. Very sweet.
Janas Priya in Hawaii. Prabhu, do you have anything to share with us in terms of the class today?
Hare Krishna, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. Accept my humble obeisances.
Haribol.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to, I just tuned in.
Okay. I
but-
know the time zone's quite difficult. What time is it there in Hawaii?
5:33.
Okay, so we started, for you, that would be, well, we're moving on an hour and a half now. So it would have been like 3:30 in the morning. So we understand. But thank you anyway. And if anybody's ever interested in moving to Hawaii and taking up devotional service with a very sincere Prabhupada disciple, Janas Priya, you can get in touch with him and make an arrangement to go live in heaven on earth. What did Prabhupada say about Hawaii, Janas Priya?
He said Hawaii hasn't entered Kali Yuga yet. And you could tell that when you go to a little beach where there's little swimming holes and all the rocks are in the right place so you could step down. It's just like a demigod setting, And it's also very dangerous if you're not Krishna conscious. They call it the sannyasi graveyard.
Sannyasi graveyard.
Many sannyasis have come here and dropped the danda. It's just too heavenly. And what Prabhupada said, the local people are some of the best recipients for Krishna consciousness because the atmosphere is kind of more of goodness, so people are not so agitated or so angry. They're smiling and they wave and they say hi, so it's real easy to engage them in Krishna consciousness. You tell anybody, most chant Hare Krishna, and they go, Hare Krishna. It's just a good setup. And Prabhupada, he had two favorite places, and that was Bombay. He liked that, and he liked Hawaii, and then he mentions that any place that has many, many palm trees, he loved those places, and he especially liked Hawaii because of the mangoes. And,
Okay.
Govinda Dasi used to invite him to come and says, mango season. And Prabhupada says, I'm on my way. Prabhupada came and it wasn't mangoes. But he just wanted Prabhupada to come. So then Prabhupada found that and he wasn't very happy about that. But there's always mangoes, of course.
Okay. Yaśodā.
The first place.
I just want to thank you very much, Janas Priya Prabhu. Very much appreciated. As a point of reference, in Hawaii one time, Prabhupada made a comment to Guru Kripa, who was the GBC there, that Hawaii used to, in the Vedic times, used to be populated by great rishis, great sages, and they used to live on coconut and mangoes. Dharma Bhavana Prabhu on this call here from Texas, he holds different programs. I just want him to give us a little description of some of his recent preaching activities with his good wife. Go ahead, Dharma Bhavana. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, we can hear
loud
you.
and clear. Good to see you, Prabhu. Haribo. Glories to Prabhupada.
Yeah, well, today there's no Sunday feast program because of the spring break.
Okay.
Some of the devotees have been communicating with each other and just kind of asking about, different relationships and how we can kind of solve different interpersonal situations. And so we also have a Sunday feast regularly where there's about 40 children, about
Wow.
30 adults, and it's at a Montessori school. And we have
Okay.
first off with and the children have separate classes. They have videos and different types of, they chant a lot of mantras. And so there's Tulsi Puja, Arti, the lecture, and then Prasadam time. So we really have everything. And so it's going on nicely, pretty well. Yesterday, we kind of tried to solve a lot of problems by devotees just talking to each other privately. Yeah. But I had a question a little bit like, I'm sorry to hear about Madhukant Prabhu, but a question has sort of come up where
Yes.
Prabhupada has asked different devotees to perform initiation ceremonies on his behalf. And Prabhupada is the eternal preceptor guru. So my question is, if somebody performs this ceremony, what is the implied or explicit relationship between the person who's performing the initiation ceremony and the person who's taking initiation from Prabhupada? Can you?
Yeah, I'll give you an answer on that. For example, like I performed not a lot, maybe 5 or 6 initiation ceremonies when I was president in Toronto. So you're just the officiating priest over the fire sacrifice. And that's basically it. You're not implicated in the karma of that person, or you're just officiating as a person representing the spiritual master to do the actual service. That's it. It's not that complicated.
But here, somebody had a kind of a question. They thought they had some kind of a long-term association years ago in Bangalore. And now they're living in America here in Texas, and somebody wanted to offer them initiation, and they said, well, I'd rather take it kind of through ISKCON Bangalore because that's my kind of long-term affection and association started there. So it's kind of along those lines. If somebody takes is somebody obligated to be affectionate or to follow somebody, or is there any control issue involved?
No. It's strictly a functioning capacity as a, like when you're a president, someone has to carry out the ceremony, and Prabhupada wasn't practically there. What was he supposed to do? So he used that system, a Ritvik system. We're not Ritvik gurus. There's no Ritvik guru in this. The Ritvik it's just a functioning activity for helping Prabhupada in his mission. The faraway Ritvik says yes or no. I don't know what Balaram means by that. What do you mean by that? The faraway Ritvik says yes or no. What's a Ritvik? Is that a Ritvik is not a person.
Yeah, I'll explain if you want. According to Prabhupada's
I'm just saying to you, first of all, hold on. I'm going to explain it to you first. A Ritvik is not a person.
He is a person.
It's a term. Go ahead.
Okay. According to the July 9th letter, you can all read it nicely.
Yes.
There's in a normal system, sometimes it's not possible to have a normal system, but the standard system is 4 people involved. The TP recommends, he knows the person who wants initiation. He sends a letter to the Ritvik, and the Ritvik could be 6,000 miles away, whoever is nearest, as said by Prabhupada. The Ritvik acts as on behalf of Prabhupada. He says, okay, should I say yes or no? That's all. He doesn't have a relationship with this person who wants to be initiated. He says yes or no, chants on the beads, gives the name, sends it back to the TP. The temple president then organizes the yagya. And for that, it should be normal that he would choose a brahmana to just do the yagya. And then the person who's getting initiated will sit in that yagya, get initiated, and that's it. So in that proper process, let's say, neither any one of them nor the initiated person ever can be confused to think The Ritvik is my guru. The temple president is my guru. And
Here's the
That's
mistake. This is the mistake that you're making. If I could humbly say this.
please, of course.
You're using the term Ritvik. Now, first of all, it's incorrect what you're saying about initiation in a temple, according to Prabhupada's system. In other words, Prabhupada would send a letter to me, for example, and he'd say, conduct the ceremony. So Prabhupada was giving me direction. There was no third-party Ritvik. Like, that's not, Ritvik means system. It doesn't mean person. Do you think it does?
Absolutely. He named 11 Ritviks. He gave them a position on his behalf to just say yes, no. Basically, actually, the Ritvik, his position is to spy on the temple president. If he thinks the temple president is in good standing, proper focus, he'll just say yes. That's all. Definitely he's a person. He says, I appoint 11 Ritviks, officiating acharyas.
Yeah, a Ritvik system. That's what he's trying to use. Not Ritvik.
I don't know what you want to call it, but anyway, the Ritvik is a person. Prabhupada appointed 11 people. This is why they use that. Actually, the ISKCON deviation used the appointment of 11 Ritviks as appointment of 11 gurus. And that's where they used that and deviated. But the Ritvik, it's a position name. You know, you could be simultaneously a teacher.
I was. By the way, Prabhu, just so you know, when they weren't in that position, then we were representing that, you know, performing this Ritvik ceremony. So the term Ritvik guru or Ritvik ceremony, there's a little bit of confusion with that. I mean, it's a minor point.
Read the July 9th letter slowly, clearly, and you'll see.
I got the letter. By the way, I got the letter personally. And so I'm just trying to explain to you simply that it's a Ritvik system. It's not Ritvik person. Otherwise, am I a Ritvik guru? Excuse me. Am I a Ritvik guru?
Look,
Prabhupada said that I should do
the Ritvik is not a guru. The Ritvik is a position.
Yeah.
So, you know, we like in our group now, let's say PDA becomes an organization. Then we say we need
it
to
is an
appoint
organization.
we need to appoint some Ritviks around the world, exactly like in Prabhupada's idea, because Balaram has a place in Turkey and somebody want to get initiated. So who's the nearest person to him? Oh, there's somebody in London. The closest Ritvik is in London. So I'll write to the London Ritvik who has that position as a Ritvik. And I say, okay, this person wants to take initiation. Do you say yes, no? And he operates on behalf of Prabhupada to say yes or no.
Okay, we don't do that, actually. Like I explained to you already, we have a committee, Brahminical Council, which is...
well, that's a difference to Prabhupada's system.
Not as Prabhupada
I think we should look at that.
That's how... Hold on. That's your interpretation, my friend. Like, in all fairness. But that's your interpretation.
Okay,
it's not a negative.
Maybe that's a good thing for us. A good thing for us to do as a group. Let's get this July 9th letter and read it and analyze it. All of it.
We have lived through it. Received it personally. And we know exactly what we're talking about. And this, we're using our intelligence, brother, to avoid any kind of difficulty in terms of individuals running around initiating people and not qualifying them properly. See, the most important thing about
initiating, Prabhupada is the initiator. No one is initiated. Prabhupada is the initiator. This is just,
that's all right.
Nice.
Obviously, I accept that. We know that. We're performing the initiation ceremony on behalf of Śrīla Prabhupāda for them. Is that correct for you? You understand that? Is that okay that I say the right words? So, but we're qualifying people. In other words, if you don't, someone has to qualify a person. Like, for example, you. For you to be a Prabhupada disciple, with, you know, you're qualified because of what reason? What makes you qualified to be a disciple?
I'm not qualified. But anyway, the qualifying person.
Well,
is
you
the
have a
TP.
name.
The
You have a
TP
name.
is the person that knows. The TP is the person that knows this devotee who wants initiation. You know, the TP actually is the most important factor in this initiation system, because no one else knows the devotee. It's you, the TP, that's got to know this person for at least 6 months or
Exactly.
a year and say he's chanting 16 rounds, he's doing the service. I recommend him. Just like in Prabhupada's time, it was the TP who called Prabhupada and said, yes, I recommend
Well,
him.
it's interesting. All of the people on our Brahminical Council were former Prabhupada temple presidents when Prabhupada was here. So they have that direct experience. More than a meeting. We've got something coming up here. Yaśodā.
That's like an
ahead.
important question for me, because like in the future of PDA, which I don't even know really exactly what it is, but I would like to know. I want to read up. But if
All
this
you have to do
becomes,
is call me up. Call me up. I'll explain it to you. I think
Okay.
we're explaining it here.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
in
But I
it's in
mean, for
real
everybody.
it's in real form, or it's a business plan in action.
Yeah,
We're not
but like
talking.
me, for example, next week I can have somebody who, let's just say hypothetically, I don't, I wish I did. But
Go ahead, please.
somebody who's been around me for 6 months or more wants to take initiation. So then I'm like, well, okay, what do I do now here? You know, I take him to Bangalore. I could do that. I can take him to India. Or I can take him to whatever. So, but if PDA sets up an organization where there is
Yeah,
Ritviks,
we do.
and that's
We
the
are.
system, I'll call the nearest person to me and say, okay, just like him.
Just call me up. Just call me up anytime.
Okay,
And
so
say,
you're
I've
the
got
Ritvik then.
some. No, I'm not the Ritvik.
Oh.
I'm a person, like you're recommending that person
Yeah.
to get for initiation. So what we'll
Right.
do is we're qualifying him. The group will qualify him. So I'll start with you. I'll say, hey, Prabhu, how exceptional is this person? And you'll start to tell me, oh, he chants his rounds. He studied all the books.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
following strictly the principles, the basic questions, as you know.
Yeah.
And you'll review it with me. Like you'll be a part of this process. Exactly. You'll be for him, you'll be on the Brahminical Council. That's what'll happen. You'll come
Can you
in.
tell me, did Prabhupada set up a Brahminical Council for this initiation process?
No, we're setting it up, obviously, because we're his
So that's
disciples.
a little bit different to what
We're
Prabhupada set
his
up then.
senior disciples.
Yeah,
We're
that's fine.
senior temple presidents.
Yeah.
So we know what the hell we're talking about, bro.
I'm not saying you don't.
Balaram
Well,
Prabhu, if I may just add a comment that
Please.
this is not the
Please.
forum this is not the way to discuss these issues. If you want to approach it humbly and ask what Prabhus are doing, but I don't see the humbleness in you. Actually, I see it's quite offensive the way you're talking. So I would say just let's stop this right now and let's continue with the other questions, because it's extremely offensive and disruptive what you're doing actually.
Bhaktivedanta, thank you. Balaram, with all due respect, we will carry on with the discussion. Is there any other comments here that we can, and you can call me, please, Prabhu, and I'd be happy to talk to you. I love your association. I think you're a great devotee. I mean that sincerely. I'm not trying to flatter you. It's obvious that you're very sincere. And we want to work out these issues and hopefully have a common understanding of what the philosophy is. Anybody else? Yaśodā, any other comments? I think what we'll do is if there's no more questions, we'll keep going.
I just want to
finish
make
up.
a comment here.
Yes.
Internally with the PDA, we're also affiliated with the Hare Krishna Society. We have two websites. One is called KrishnaConsciousnessMovement.com. Another one is called PrabhupadaAnugasWorldwide.org. And these websites have got numerous articles on this issue. Now, we're also going to be doing some special events where members of our Brahminical Council, which we formed for spiritual discussion, are going to be discussing the whole history of that Ritvik system and how Prabhupada set it up, and the meaning, as you were discussing, Balaram Prabhu, of that letter on July 9th, and basically explaining in a very rational, cool-headed way some of the objections that have been raised, like this is not in a tradition, no one ever did that before. There's a lot of different statements which have been made by different devotees and different other leaders with regards to this system of initiation. Now, as you correctly pointed out, I'm speaking of record. I'm speaking, like a lawyer would say, a written record. In other words, there is a written record that has been established by His Divine Grace Śrīla Prabhupāda on July 9th, as well as other subsequent statements. For example, when the secretary, Prabhupada dictated a letter to his secretary with regards to Hamsaduta, and Prabhupada says, continue to become a Ritvik and act on my charge. So in other words, in the last few months of Prabhupada's manifested presence, for lack of a better word, I mean, Prabhupada is always with us, but I'm using that terminology so we can be clear as to the time frame that we're speaking of. In the last few months of Prabhupada's manifest presence, there is no record anywhere of Prabhupada appointing one Acharya or a group of Acharyas. Now, if somebody wants to challenge that to various interpretations, and this means this, and Prabhupada says this, okay. I'm referring to the written record, that letter, because what has happened is many devotees do not understand the history, how this controversy developed. In the beginning, we did not have, even at Mayapur in 1978, I was living with Guru Kripa, Bhagavan, and Tamal, and most of the discussion was not even about this. The discussion was, they were discussing the scandal that was going on with many women party with a fellow named Jivadas in America, and it was creating a big fury all over the movement. Most of the discussions were discussed with that. And then they sent some people to the Navadvip to consult with somebody else. And later on, we found out that all kinds of conversations with Śrīla Prabhupāda were missing, that we had no access to these conversations. When we in Vrindavan, Prajimna, myself, Jagat Guru Swami, Akshayananda Swami, and other devotees were asking, where are the exact transcripts of these conversations with we couldn't get an answer. All that we were being told is you're not being a good devotee, and then it escalated that you're a nonsense, you're a rascal, you're a deviant, you're in Maya, then you're a demon, we're going to kick you out of ISKCON. It got to the point there were threats of assassination when people wanted to know exactly what Śrīla Prabhupada had said in 1977. Many devotees don't even know that the exact full transcript was not available for almost 10 years. As a case in point, when this fellow from Philadelphia, Rabindra Swarup, wrote his paper about reforming the guru system, he was referring to these conversations and admitting that he did not have access to the original conversation. Some people were threatened to death, to be assassinated for revealing these conversations. So in other words, there was a climate of suppression, oppression, lack of discussion. We're not going to have, nobody's going to be threatened in here for making comment, expressing themselves. And this is what we're going to, this is going to be a special event that's going to be recorded. And that's why we've also changed the format of these discussions so that devotees like yourself, Prabhu, your good self in Turkey, and every devotee can ask questions without fear of pressure, retribution, getting kicked out. You know the story of Sulochan? Sulochan was assassinated over this issue. 3 days after he wrote his book, The Guru Business, he was assassinated. He was trying to get down to the bottom of the story, because I find that many devotees now are raising the question, how did this happen? Why was this? They're going to say, the GBC and people, oh, we all discussed. No, you did not discuss. At Mayapur in 1978, nobody brought up that so-called appointment tape. Nobody brought up the letter. They just concluded, we've been appointed. When we started to raise the issue, when was this appointment? How did this appointment take place? I was there in Vrindavan every single day between May 17th and November 14th, except when Prabhupada sent me to Fiji to conduct the ceremonies for the opening of the Krishna Kalya temple. And we tried one time, Guru Kripa and Bhagavan and myself went outside of Prabhupada's room, and we told Tamal Krishna, we'd like to go ask Prabhupada some clarification about how this is going to work. Tamal, oh, no, we can't disturb Prabhupada. Prabhupada is sick. He is not well. I know what it means. We can't talk to him right now. Even Satsvarup and Jayadvaita, in October of 1977, they went outside of Prabhupada's room. They asked them all, we want to get some clarification from Prabhupada how this is going to work. Tamal Dim, the same answer. Oh, no, we can't do that. Prabhupada is like this. Prabhupada is like that. We don't want to disturb him. There was every attempt to prevent the actual clarification. I mean, Prabhupada, in his mind, it was clear. In October of 1977, when one gentleman asked Śrīla Prabhupada, he wanted to be initiated by Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, stop for the time being. His health was not good. Prabhupada did not take part directly in any fire sacrifices in the last few months. And he told in that conversation on October 18th that Jai Pataka's name, he can do that if he likes. I've deputed my disciples. Prabhupada did not say, I've appointed some successors, I've appointed some zonal gurus, I've appointed some Uttamadhikaris, none of this. Prabhupada, his name was on the list. What list was he referring to? That letter you just quoted. So a lot of these points and many other things will be fully discussed, because ISKCON is made of propaganda, or the people who accept Prabhupada as the guru, they're Ritviks, they're rascals, they're deviants. No. There is only two kinds of people, those who follow Prabhupada and those who don't follow Prabhupada. We want to follow Prabhupada. And in the context of the massive misleading propaganda that has been going on, what we want to do is bring these issues, discuss them, and get everything very clarified. Now, as far as there's no offense in discussion, we're going to do it in a structured, intelligent, cool-headed, systematic way. But in order to do that, devotees also have to do their part. Do not hear from nonsense people who claim they've been appointed as successors. That is a lie. That is a falsehood. And this whole idea of voting people with election, they claim, oh, we're just doing an approval. No. In their own resolutions, in the beginning, they say that the GBC will vote. There is no such thing as voting somebody to the position of Nikunja Yuno and the sum total of all demigods. That does not exist. It's a falsehood. There's a lot of misleading propaganda to try to fit it into this narrative, to try to readjust the narrative that we've been appointed. No, you've never been appointed. Mm-hmm. All that Prabhupada did is choose people to do the service on his behalf of initiating devotees that would be his students, his followers, and his initiated disciples. They don't like it because it contravenes that what I call the desire for the pod problem, profit, adoration, and distinction. Yes, Vishwakarma.
Okay, excellent. That's, we're very familiar with this, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. It's called fake news. And, for example, this whole vax propaganda, all these people, they digested all this false information about how to prevent disease, and in the end it's proved to be a hoax. So in the same way, fake news goes on in many different societies and cultures, and there's a lot of fake news in the ISKCON world. And people are brainwashed by it, and there you go, on it goes. I wanted to, we're going to wind up the class because we're moving forward here. It's 12 noon here in Canada. And Balaram, you mentioned about other classes. Venkat, we are producing other classes, Prabhupada classes for Prabhupada TV. So we're going to produce other programs like you're suggesting, with just Prabhupada lectures and Prabhupada Japa, other content in the channel, so that you can go to the channel. It's not just going to be, I don't want to minimize it, but not just going to be the classes, but it'll be that plus Prabhupada classes plus other features, movies, etc. So we're going to build up a whole week schedule. That's the goal. A week-long schedule of activity that you can go to at your convenience. So I want to thank everybody for their participation today. Who have we got here that wants to say something? Sham Sundar, go ahead. Please, in Australia.
Australia. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone for the wonderful class and contributions. I just wanted to make a little comment that perhaps there was a misunderstanding. I'm just guessing, a misunderstanding between Balaram and perhaps yourselves. As far as I understood it, Balaram was calling the person that does the Ritvik initiation, he was calling them a Ritvik priest or Ritvik, and you were saying no, it's a Ritvik system. So what I was thinking perhaps is what Balaram was wanting to establish was, what's the title of the person who's giving the initiation on behalf of Śrīla Prabhupada? If he's not a Ritvik priest, then what is the title? I think that could be what was. No, Balaram's shaking his head. But what would you call? Okay, well, perhaps I didn't get it right. But what would you call the priest then that gives the Ritvik initiation, or does the initiation on behalf of Śrīla Prabhupada? What's his title?
Used to be the temple president, as Balaram mentioned. So,
I mean,
Prabhupada calls it the officiating Acharya. He's an officiating Acharya.
So that's the title, officiating Acharya.
But he also says Ritvik, because Tamal says in that letter, is that called Ritvik? Right. And Prabhupada said Ritvik, yes. So there's two titles. Yes. Choose whichever one you want. But he is not the person conducting the ceremony. The Ritvik, as Prabhupada said, he is the nearest one he could. That's why they divided the zone. That zonal Acharya system came up exactly from this. That there was one Ritvik in a zone, governing as representing Prabhupada in a zone.
Okay, so I got it wrong. I misunderstood you. I thought you were just trying to establish the title of the person, the actual priest. So he's an officiating Acharya.
That's also that was also there.
Okay.
But he's also called a Ritvik too. Is that so? Both titles can be there.
Yeah, it's semantics, but intent is what we're talking about. Who are you? For example, someone could be initiated by Prabhupada and doesn't do any service. So is he a disciple? Does he chant his rounds? No. Does he preach Krishna consciousness to anybody? No. Does he drink whiskey? Yes. Is that a Prabhupada disciple? All of us are Prabhupada disciples, Balaram, anyway. There's no question of that. Rikesh Sharma, Ram Raghava, excuse me. Prabhu, you have your hand up.
Yes, Hare Krishna. I wanted to ask regarding Madhukanta, Prabhu. Is there anybody close enough to Las Vegas who could go and chant for him in the case when the inevitable happens?
I'll check with them. I'll check with them and I'll call you. I tried to call your phone number, but I couldn't get through. Maybe you were out of station.
I have a new phone number. I'll call you today.
Yeah, please, and I'll keep you posted. He's in touch with me by chat. That's all he can do because he can't speak. He has no breath.
Yeah,
I'm very worried about him.
I call him periodically, but he can't talk on the phone, so that's why sometimes I send him a chat message.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I feel really disturbed by it, but we're praying for him. Vincott, you had your hand up.
No, I mean, just about the whole discussion about the word Ritvik and all that. My humble understanding, if I could just say.
Go ahead, please, by all means.
Balaram Prabhu is right that Prabhupada appointed 11 Ritviks, but now it has become a derogatory term, but that's the word that was used. Ritvik means priest. So they would, until then, I think Śrīla Prabhupada was assigning the names and for the people. That was the last thing that he handed over to these 11 people. So in the end, they would carry out everything, signing the names, chanting on the beads, and then performing the fire sacrifice and all that. That can be done by the temple presidents, right? So that was the system. And what Balaram Prabhu was asking was, in our current PDA, what is the setup? And he was saying that Brahminical council, that's not authorized by Prabhupada. I think he has a slight misunderstanding there about what it means, what Brahminical council means. It's nothing that is against what Prabhupada is saying. And
that's right.
Yeah, in our PDA, from what I understand, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu is the representative of the Acharya, or Ritvik, and he decides the names along with the Brahminical council. He decides the names and the chants on the beads, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's the idea of the council is it's like a team. So if one person is not thinking clearly, then the other 4 or 5 people can help them understand what should be thought, and he can correct himself. We don't want anybody running around here as one person in charge of all of us, but we do resolve it with a group. That goes on in most organizations that are successful, where they work, even like a team of coaches, for example, in sports. You have these huge budgets of hundreds of millions of dollars invested in a sports team. Is one person running it? No, they have like 10 people working together to make sure that the team wins. So that's the strategy, is to work together cooperatively as a group. We have a Prabhu in Russia, Vishwajit. It seems like these conversations are so popular, people want to keep going. So Vishwajit, please, in Russia, your comment or question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. My question is that, Prabhu, my 2 questions.
First question, this Prabhu is 19 years old. Go ahead, please.
My question is that, Prabhu, that when I meet a non-Ritvik devotee,
yeah,
and I give some evidence that Prabhupada is our spiritual master, then he says, most of the people says that the physical presence of bona fide spiritual master is required. Then I say the physical presence is not required. So what is your opinion about that thing, that the non-Ritvik devotee always says that the physical presence of a spiritual master is required? And I also
Yaśoda, could you give this answer? Did you follow the question? Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu.
Called for me to hear his question. Maybe you can summarize it for me.
Yeah, he's saying that he tries to explain that Prabhupada is alive in his Vani incarnation, but they say there must be Vapu, a personal individual, to give the initiation. That's what their argument is.
The Ritvik system does have a person who may not be a Diksha guru or a full-fledged guru, but he is physically present. They're talking about physicality to give the initiation. Prabhupada is the initiator, and he has a representative, a Brahmin devotee, who does it on his behalf. It's like a service. You do a service for Prabhupada. What they're talking about is minimum qualification and maximum puja. This is not our philosophy. This idea that they have, that a person who is not self-realized, not liberated, that is going to occupy that position and then claim that he's been appointed by... The problem we have, Prabhu, is that these discussions with these people have gone to such an extreme level of fanaticism that it's almost impossible to have a rational, cool-headed discussion with the followers of their philosophy. Because even if I take this question you've asked, which is very good, by the way, and thank you for bringing this up, did Prabhupada know what he was talking about? How did we all learn about Guru? How did we all learn about living Guru? How did the GBC of ISKCON learn anything about Guru? From whom? From Prabhupada, right? That's a logical... Where did Prabhupada learn it from? From his Guru. So who did Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur appoint or choose or select or nominate as a living guru after him? You know, there are letters from Prabhupada when 1969, Prabhupada said there is no record of our Guru Maharaj nominating any Acharya after him. So did he know about living guru? Did Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who departed in 1914, who did not appoint anybody as a living successor, did he know what he's talking about? Did Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur know what he's talking about? Prabhupada is talking in the context of his institution to choose some representative, whether they're called officiating representative or Ritvik Acharya or Ritviks. They're not appointed gurus. They're just devotees that were chosen to represent him, to carry the initiation process on his behalf. You will not find any record in the last few months of his manifested presence of Prabhupada appointing any living guru after him. Now, when they say, oh, after the guru departs, everybody can become, Prabhupada made a lot of general statements. He made a lot of general statements about the philosophy. But Prabhupada, as the Acharya of his movement, is perfectly empowered to make specific statements of how he wants to run things. For example, Prabhupada made specific statements how he wanted the management of his institution to run, how he wanted the BBT to run, how he wanted the Gurukul to run, how he wanted the deity worship to run. All of these major projects were specifically given by Śrīla Prabhupada with specific instruction. And on this topic of initiation, he did not leave sufficient information. No, he gave very specific instruction. The problem is the personal ambition. On account of personal ambition, people misinterpreted Prabhupada's instruction. They misinterpreted what he said and misrepresented what he said to create a system that was not done by Śrīla Prabhupada. This appointed guru system and his voting system was not the system he wanted. Now, the reality right now is many devotees were driven away from ISKCON for not accepting that hoax, that concoction. Like many devotees on this call are not living in an ISKCON temple. They're not participating directly in ISKCON. So for those devotees that want to receive a bona fide initiation and a bona fide connection with Śrīla Prabhupada, there can be an arrangement. Prabhupada made that arrangement. For those people who are in ISKCON, they can follow whatever system they have. I'm not disputing. I'm speaking of the intended system for his society, for including everybody into that system. Because what we have now is a broken system, a broken parampara that claims to be following Prabhupada and disobeying his instruction and changing his teachings, distorting his teachings. Now, there's a lot of instructions and statements by Śrīla Prabhupada about initiation, parampara, discipline, succession. But I'm speaking of the specific instruction which he gave, which should be followed in 1977. As far as a living guru, Prabhupada did not appoint a living guru. Did Bhaktisiddhanta appoint a living guru?
No.
Did Bhaktisiddhanta deviate because he did not appoint a living guru according to the GBC? Did Bhaktivinoda Thakur deviate because he did not appoint a living successor? First of all, Prabhupada is living now. He's living in sound. He's living in his teachings. He's living in his instruction. This whole idea that Prabhupada is dead and gone, this is not spiritual understanding. In 1979, when we had a GBC in Vrindavan, the late secretary expressed the GBC philosophy. Now that Prabhupada is dead, it's not practical to accept him as a guru. It's not accepting reality. Another GBC gave him an elbow in the ribs, told him to shut up. Because this is nonsense idea. This idea Prabhupada is dead, Prabhupada is gone, he's not physically here. Well, he's there in the deity, he's there in his picture, he's there in his teachings, he's there in his books, and those devotees that faithful or want to represent him and follow him, he's there with them too. It's a matter of becoming educated of how we can become Prabhupada's student, how we can become Prabhupada's followers and how we become Prabhupada's disciple by following his discipline, by following his teaching and receiving Divyam Jnanam from him. The person who does a fire sacrifice or a Brahmin doing the service, he's just doing it as a service on behalf of his divine grace. That's all it is. Whether they call him a ritvik, because right now we don't have the functioning structure as it was originally intended by Śrīla Prabhupada. That structure is no longer there. There's voting guru, appointed guru, self-appointed guru. There's too much madness going on to have a rational discussion. That's why many of us are here, because we can discuss, we can exchange our understanding, we can quote from Prabhupada, we can ask questions without fear of retribution. Nobody is going to attack anybody. Nobody's going to say anything. And if something is not proper, we can offer respectful obeisances and move forward. But there's no harm in discussing issues. And for those people that want to accept somebody as their living guide, that is their choice. You can choose to hear from any Vaishnava you want to hear, but you can also choose to hear and accept Śrīla Prabhupada as your spiritual master. He lives forever by his divine instructions, and the follower lives with him. Just remember that every day when you get up, try to recite that mantra in your head. He lives forever by his divine instructions, and the follower live in. In 1969, in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam lecture in Los Angeles, on the 13th of January, 1969, Śrīla Prabhupada said, "What we have heard from the spiritual master, that is living." You quote them that. Why is it that you never hear those people quoting that? What Prabhupada said in 1975 in Atlanta, Georgia, it is not that he is dead and gone. That is not spiritual understanding. Do you hear them quoting that to you? No, because there's that motivation. That motivation for profit, adoration, and distinction has polluted the whole understanding. A servant is not the master. A servant simply renders service, hopefully, without personal ambition for Prabhupada. That's what a ritvik or whatever it's supposed to do. That's the whole idea of that system of initiation that Prabhupada set up. And more people are coming to this level of understanding because they see that by following Prabhupada, by hearing Divyam Jnanam or transcendental knowledge from Prabhupada, we feel that connection. We feel the inspiration. We feel the transcendental food from Śrīla, that transcendental knowledge from Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Vijay Pandit Prabhu, you have a question? Did your wife raise her hand? She had her hand up.
Well,
I saw her hand go up. No?
I don't know.
Did she have a question? She raised her hand. No?
¿Hay una demanda? She don't have.
She already knows all the answers. She's chanting Hare Krishna. She already knows all the answers.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Vijay Pandit in Italy.
Well, all of you made a very nice speech. Yaśodā-nandana explained very nicely the process, you Vishwakarma too, and also the intervention of Venkat Prabhu to try to explain and answer to Balaram and devotees. So Balaram is saying, how you can say that you are not a ritvik? No? Actually, I'm not a ritvik. Actually not, because ritvik is just a service. It's just a title that a devotee get to fulfill a service to Śrīla Prabhupada. It's not me that I'm a ritvik. It's just a title. So we don't have to identify ourselves in this title. And ISKCON is using this title to push us down, and they made this title as a idol for the idol, like we are idols, and this is not proper. But this is not what Balaram was saying, of course. But Balaram is, I think you understand very good, no? So if I say to you, Balaram, you are a ritvik, and if you have a right understanding, you would say, no, I'm not a ritvik. I'm just fulfill this service for Śrīla Prabhupada. It's a service, that's it. Like a policeman, his service is a policeman. But when he's home, he's a father, he's a husband, and he's a friend, and it's just a title. That's it. We don't have
There's a
to.
very good point that has been raised by a devotee from Hamilton, Ontario, Bhakta Joe Felici. He says the title should be administrator. It's important that that system was meant to work in conjunction with the temple presidents, with all the devotees, with the structure that Prabhupada had made for his society. But that whole structure was completely changed and almost burnt to ashes by this introduction of this appointment system and all the nonsense that went along with it. When they tried to fix it in 1986, they, instead of going back to the original system, they had another concoction, this idea of voting and electing. How is electing going to solve the problem? Because after Prabhupada departed, a whole class of devotees were declared enemies of ISKCON, enemy of the state, for not agreeing with the concoctions that were going on. So the point is, Prabhupada gave all the necessary instructions. What we're trying to do is discuss these instructions so devotees can properly apply it and understand it. Because, for example, the devotee in Texas that we're speaking, Dharma Bhavana, he's preaching.
Yeah.
He's getting people to chant Hare Krishna. He's getting children to chant Bhagavad Gita. He's getting people to offer prasadam. He's getting people to participate in the kirtan. What does he do? He's following Prabhupada's instruction. The same thing that Ram Raghava said when he had that program, which is the same thing that many devotees on this call are doing. They're following Prabhupada's instruction. We don't think ourselves that we're somebody big or somebody important. Wherever you are, whether it's in ISKCON, outside of ISKCON, just carry faithfully the instruction of Prabhupada, and people should not distort and change Prabhupada's instruction. Why is it that we don't find a record anywhere of Prabhupada appointing one successor or a group of successors? They'll say, I'll tell you what they'll say. They say, well, the GBC is the successor. But the GBC, there's no record of Prabhupada ever saying that the GBC can appoint acharyas. Where is that? Where's that record? It's not there because Prabhupada set up a perfect system. Everything he did was perfect. The imperfection is us not understanding what he did.
Yes, exactly. I see that John Espriya has his hand up. First, before you speak, John Espriya, I want to thank everybody for staying on the call. We still have like 21. We just had 22. I think someone might have had to leave to use the facilities or whatever, but we still have 21 people on the call, surprisingly, and it's going on.
Prabhu, we also have 14 people on other platforms, Facebook and YouTube.
Oh, thank you very much. So there is, I mean, these issues appear to be very interesting for everyone to understand together as a group. I know I'm getting a better understanding with hearing everybody's comments. And this is the idea behind this, is to clear up any confusion that any of us might have. Some of this discussion is dealing with semantics, the meaning of a word or an understanding of a particular concept. But really, the whole point is, our intent is to put Prabhupada in the position that he's supposed to be in, and the position of the individuals in this group. Remember, we don't have anybody, there's one thing, we don't have anybody in our group right now that is in the position of becoming initiated. We're not recommending people just to go ahead. This is up to the individual. If they want to take this process up seriously, then they can enter into our system. And then they can move forward like that. And we encourage people to do that, Yaśodā, as you know, because we do need people to, carry on this mission, because we're old men. We're old men. And what are we going to do if there's no Prabhupada disciples left? So John Espriya, and then our devotee, 19 years old in Russia after. John Espriya in Hawaii, please.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Yes, Śrīla Prabhupāda said, I have given you everything you need. Which means he set up a system. He could not leave such an important thing set up. So Prabhupada did set up a system. And like you said, you were part of that system. You were being the officiating Acharya, you were doing. So that's the legit system that Prabhupada established. Now, these guys, they're counterfeit. They stolen the movement. So the whole
Counterfeit.
movement that they have is totally counterfeit.
Yes.
Therefore, whatever system they're following, it's full of faults, and whoever they're initiating, it's not really happening because the source is bogus. Obviously, the disciples going to be bogus, and their whole philosophy that they're following is bogus. So we have to somehow, by example, when they see once this system is going, they're going to see that if they simply have to look at the other sampradayas, they're all officiating acharyas. And they still here, 700-800 years, 1,000 years, whatever they have lasted. Why? Because they had the acharya in the center and they did not invent their own little whims. So
if I
we're
may make
saving-
a comment here, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Prabhu. One thing is, I just want to make sure in our discussion that whatever terminology we use,
Yes.
I would be very careful of using terms like things that could be viewed by some individuals as inflammatory or offensive or unproductive. Let's be careful. If we use the term bogus, there can be plenty of reason to make statements that
I
would
got
not
you.
be appropriate.
Authorized. I should be saying authorized.
In
Fair
other
enough.
words, what I'm trying to say to you is that we could make a whole list. If everybody here, we could talk for hours and hours describing plenty of examples of people behaving in a bogus way. But my point is, we're trying to structure these discussions in a way that we can reach some proper conclusions that we can act upon, things that we can do that will be beneficial for us, for Krishna consciousness, for ourselves, and for Prabhupada's movement. And that's why these discussions are important, because let's face it, Rao, the original intended structure of ISKCON, as Prabhupada intended it, there's a lot of things that have broken down. I was explaining yesterday about the book, the deity worship, the kirtan. There's many examples. Or what to speak of devotees getting kicked out or devotee getting assassinated. Is that what Prabhupada told them to do? To assassinate Sulochan so they could protect their system? No. There's a lot of the molestation of children, the abuse of children, the abuse of devotees. There's a lot of things that have gone on when people go crazy thinking that they've become absolute. There's a big difference between somebody who is a fully realized, empowered, pure devotee and a practitioner, whether it's a Kanishta practitioner or a Madhyam practitioner. There's a difference, and we should not forget that. The problem is when people think they've become absolute authorities and start abusing people, everything breaks down. Everything breaks down. And what you have right now is a broken system. Because if you go to a temple trying to discuss these issues, a lot of time you're going to get physically assaulted, or you're going to get kicked out, or you're going to get driven away. In other words, we have to discuss this in a very intelligent way and make practicable implementation and application so something works properly, so there can be intelligent discussions. Otherwise, we end up with a cult. What does a cult do? You remember Jim Jones in Guyana when he told people to drink the Kool-Aid? Do you think they had an Ishtagoshti before they drank the Kool-Aid? Do you think they allowed everybody to have a free, open discussion before they drank the Kool-Aid? No.
No.
And ISKCON has become like that. They've invented this term, the Ritvik. They've demonized the Ritviks or devotees who want to promote Śrīla Prabhupāda as the Acharya. They've demonized us. You don't have to fall for that.
I think you're 100% correct, and I totally agree to what you said.
Mm-hmm.
I should say disobedient. These people were disobedient.
That's a good term. That's a good term.
And so therefore the whole system is based on disobedience, So anything based on disobedience, it could not have a good result. So we're trying to be obedient to Prabhupada's orders.
Yeah.
And following the system that he set up, and that's all we're doing. We're presenting it to the best of reality. Thank you very much.
It's it's interesting to note that this is words are very significant in a conversation. And, sometimes these words may come out, like you could call somebody bogus. It's a word that's used as to express something that's not real, it's fake. But at the same time, we know that everyone's intention here is on the right page. That's why you're here. Look at today. We've still got 21 participants in this group, Yaśodā. And it's 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. So this class has been going for 2.5 hours. I was saying to one of my friends here at the house, Dr. Rick, who's doing the painting, he's listening in the other room. I'm saying it just seems that people want to discuss these items. They feel a need for it, Yaśodā. And that's why it's becoming something that they're interested in be outside of the class. I mean, we had a most beautiful class today. You gave a wonderful explanation of our philosophy. I love the purports and the reading that Vinkat did too from the prospectus. All of the parts of the program have been very interesting. And it's also great to see all the interest from all of you globally. This is a global effort. And we announced the different people that are on the program, what country they're from. And we want to, like Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, he's pushing forward in all your different areas of the world. Carry on and invite more people to come to these programs. Don't just it's not a group that we're restricting people from admission. Even if you don't agree, we're not interested in having people argue with us in the program. You can call us on a different platform and we can discuss it. But invite sincere people to the Prabhupada Disciples Association so that we have... How many people were at that bogus Mayavadi talk yesterday, Vinkat? You pointed out to me. And how many people were... Now listen to this, everybody, very carefully. Go ahead, Vinkat.
There were 1,000 people. There's one person called Paramahamsa Vishwananda, and he's, ostensibly he's a follower of Krishna consciousness, but actually he says that he is Krishna. So people, yeah. So I mean, he's a so-called living, person, and he's based in Germany. And I was curious, so I attended one of his Zoom calls. He calls them darshans, so where he looks at people and he tells them, they ask, what do they call them? Gurudev, I have an issue with my stomach. What should I do? And then he says, oh, don't worry, take green salad in the morning and you'll be fine. Yeah, so this kind of thing is going on, and he had 1,000 attendees on his call. And that's the limit of Zoom. So, I mean, I'm sure more would have wanted to attend. He has thousands of followers. So, yeah.
So you can see that we're at a certain stage of our evolution. We're doing good. Everybody's doing good. For example, we have a Prabhupada Disciples Association, and we mentioned it the other day. Vinkat, how many people are joining our association now per week?
800 people joining our Facebook group per week.
Per week. So at this pace, we're going to be expanding to thousands and more than and now we're at 3,600 members. And we're streaming live on Facebook, this class, and we're also streaming it live on YouTube. And that's expanding, but it's mediocre compared to these Mayavadis, these bogus people. We're not interested in numbers, but we do want to proliferate what we're doing to as many sincere people that are searching for truth. That's the commodity that we're delivering is the truth. And we want people to take all the people on our call to take this message out into the public and expand what we're doing. Vishwajit in Russia is 19 years old. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Right now is 11:45 p.m. at night in Russia. And temperature is minus 7 degrees Celsius minus. So my question is that Prabhu, when I visit an ISKCON temple,
yes,
so they offer me the food. They offer me the prasad. So
it may be food. It may be food, not prasadam. Go ahead, please.
So can we eat this prasadam because we are Ritvik devotees and they are non-Ritvik devotees?
Prabhu, are you hungry when you go?
No.
Are you hungry, or why do you go? To get the prasadam, or what's the reason?
Actually, for Krishna, because seat at altar for Krishna consciousness only.
Okay, so so it's not. I don't know what to say. Maybe Yaśodā, you can pass some common sense advice to our Prabhu.
One thing you could do is you could ask them to put it on a plate and take it with you. We've often discussed, in order for foodstuffs to go from bhoga or unoffered food to prasadam, there's a process. Well, the main process is to offer it with love and devotion. But the main thing that we've been taught by Śrīla Prabhupāda, it has to be offered in a specific way, with specific mantras. What they have done in that society is they've changed the process. They've changed the system. Now, there's numerous letters and conversations with Śrīla Prabhupāda where he explains the process is we offer to the guru, he offers it to his guru, all the way to Lord Chaitanya, all the way to Krishna. And some people in this kind of claim, well, you can't offer it that way because Krishna will not enjoy foodstuff that has been enjoyed by somebody else. And I said, well, this is the wrong understanding, because the guru does not enjoy the foodstuff you offer to him. He's taking it and offering to his spiritual master, all the way along the line to Krishna. There's an elaborate article that has been compiled by Narasimha Das, Dhamaghosh, and myself on this whole process. It's like 20-25 pages of quotes explaining this process. Basically, it's pretty simple. But what they have done is totally changed the process around and disobeyed Prabhupada's instruction. Now, the question comes back to what Balaram Prabhu has raised and what our good friend from Hawaii has raised. What is authorized? What is not authorized? Prabhupada gave specific guidance, specific instruction of what is authorized, specifically with offering bhoga and offering things to the deities. They do not follow that. Just like the kirtan, I've always explained that even in Russia, there's people are doing kirtan with these kind of dancing and this kind of mantra that Prabhupada did not give. Prabhupada did not give this Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Radhe, Bolo Krishna Radhe. No. This is not a mantra that is authorized. Now, it may make for very good singing and gypsy dancing and colorful. Okay, I'm not arguing about the gypsy dancing. I'm saying this is not the standard or the specific instruction that Śrīla Prabhupada gave for having kirtan. Similarly, Prabhupada gave specific instruction. Now, my point to you, if you go there and tell them that, they may try to harm you. So you can, if you want to go there, offer obeisances to the deities, and if they offer you prasadam, you can take the plate with you and see if they'll let you do that.
Okay, excellent. So, Prabhu, anyways, carry on. Remember, initiation or the process of Krishna consciousness means to follow sincerely Śrīla Prabhupada and his instructions every day of your life. So, Vinod, any other comments from our chat, or can we move to the end of the discussion and ahead to the kirtan?
Yeah, I think we should move to the end, but yeah, real quick, Balram Prabhu had a question. What are the current, about this offering prasadam, what are the current ISKCON people actually doing? Like, we know what the correct process is, but what are they doing which is wrong?
Okay, Yaśodā can give that answer.
They're offering it directly to Krishna, then Lord Chaitanya and Prabhupada, instead of the other way around. Prabhupada, we offered Namo Om Vishnupaya 3 times, Namaste Saraswati Devi 3 times, Namo Mahabhadanyaya 3 times, Namo Brahmanya Devaya 3 times. This is the standard that was instituted by Śrīla Prabhupada in his society. After Śrīla Prabhupada departed, he concocted this idea that you can't offer prasadam that way because the Gaudiya Math and some other sampradayas offer it different. So they changed it. They offered directly to Krishna, then Lord Chaitanya and Prabhupada. We do not follow that system. That is not an authorized system.
Okay.
Their system is not authorized by Śrīla Prabhupada.
Exactly. Robert, in Poland, how are you, Prabhu? Glories to Prabhupada. Good to see you. Thank you for attending, by the way. Very sincere person in Poland.
Am I being here properly?
It's not bad. You're gonna have to get a new microphone for the future.
Okay, so I would like to address the topic of offering food, boga, to the deities. What they do in ISKCON is that they offer the food to their spiritual masters.
Oh,
So
exactly. Yes, that's true too. Yaśodā, what Robert's saying is that they offer the food to their spiritual master. What's your comment on
there's
that?
different varieties. And if you were to take all of the ISKCON temples around the world, not all of them follow the same procedure. Many of them follow things different. But in general, my point is, they do not follow the original authorized standard that Prabhupada has given. Again, that goes back to the root disease of this living guru appointment false idea. Because they think my guru was appointed by Prabhupada, therefore we have to offer him like that. No. As a matter of fact, in 1977, Prabhupada never made an issue of offering prasadam or puja to these gurus. None of this was discussed in 1979, when we met with 1978 at Janmashtami, when the late secretary and a couple of GBCs came to Vrindavan, Pradyumna and myself raised the issue. What is the authorization for all of these changes you've made to the procedures in this movement? You've changed the artik, changed the guru puja, changed the pranam mantras, put pictures on the altar, all kinds of things were appearing. We say Prabhupada did not give any such instructions in the last few months of his manifested presence. They replied, well, we've been appointed as gurus. Say, but Prabhupada did not give any such instructions to do that. So basically, what is their authorization? There is a difference between things that are authorized and things which are not authorized. And what we have is a movement that has gone on this concoction, all on the basis of this living guru false idea and this bogus concoction of appointed guru. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bo. Thank you, everyone. My God, fantastic. My Krishna, such a wonderful way to start the day, almost take up the whole day, eh, Venkat? It's something very, very enjoyable for all of us. And I want to thank everybody. I'm not going to list everybody today, but I want to thank everybody for staying on the call, that wanted to stay on to hear more philosophy after the class. This is a sign that we're creating something that people really like, Yaśodā Prabhu. And this is, we're going to please Śrīla Prabhupada with this discussion. Venkat, please bring on the Prabhupada Kirtan, and then we'll pay our humble obeisances to all the devotees, and we'll table this discussion till next Wednesday, everyone. So if you can come next Wednesday, you won't be disappointed, or just go to the Prabhupada TV channel on YouTube And you can catch this class and all the classes and Istagostis that we've been having at your leisure. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Can we send link on the chat option?
Send the link on the chat. Yes.
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, everyone. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavenibhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Oh, thank you, everyone. Glories to Śrīla Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Carry on with your wonderful service, everyone, worldwide. Keep spreading the